I recorded the first part. And I'll record this second part and I'll put it on Teams under the exam review folder. Okay. And we are on question 13 right now. Almost finished vehicle finance. So Lorenzo wants to lease a truck. Dealership offers a 3-year lease where Lorenzo would pay $450 a month, taxes included, so we don't have to worry about calculating taxes. A down payment of $3,000 is required. This is probably a common sense one. How do you calculate the total leasing?
The down payment per month times the amount of months.
Well, not down payment per month.
Oh, I mean whatever it's called, the lease.
The lease per month.
Yeah. Times how many months, and then we add the down payment.
So for 1 year, but because it's 3 years, we go times 3. So that's the total that he's going to pay in the leasing, plus he has to pay the down payment. Okay? And that's going to give us $19,200. The next one, and I think this is the last one in this section. This might be worth maybe putting a comment down on a reference sheet, like just an advantage of buying new versus an advantage of buying used. Okay. Or if you just sort of remember, what is an advantage? Like, let's say you're asked to justify. So let's say the dealership. And this is actually between 2 used vehicles, not new and used. Obviously, I think you guys know the difference between new and used and advantages and disadvantages. But what would be an advantage of buying a used vehicle at a dealership?
The used dealership, like all the charges, like the search and stuff, are already included in the price.
Exactly. You don't have to pay for a Leanne search or a safety inspection. Dealerships do that. Okay? What about private? The advantage of going private. You may have to, I mean, maybe the seller has already done a safety. The end search doesn't cost that much anyway. What's the one thing you don't have to pay when you buy privately? What kind of taxes? For private, you don't pay GST. But if you buy from a dealership, you have to pay GST. Okay, that would be a big one. Okay.
So what's the journey purchase?
Well, I mean, you could just say, you know, buy from the dealership because of this, and you'd be right. Buy privately because of this, and you'd be right. Because it's like an opinion, but you got to back it up. Okay, precision. So the speedometer of the car is shown below. What's the precision of the speedometer?
Yeah, there's 10.
10?
No, 10.
Nearest 10? Yeah, well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's like what you would do is you would say 20 kilometers per hour. I mean, you are right in that it's every 10, but it doesn't, it doesn't include every 10.
Yeah.
even though 20, 40, 60 are tens, multiples of 10, but we would say 20. Okay. The uncertainty, this is where you have to do the plus minus thing. Okay. So you have to take your precision, and this might be work on a reference sheet, divide 2. So you do 20 divided 2, so it would be plus minus 10 kilometers per hour.
Thank you.
That would be the precision, or sorry, the uncertainty. Okay. All right. Next. So the pH for water in a fish tank must be between 7.1 and 8.1. The nominal is the midpoint or the halfway number between these two. Okay, so we want to just state the pH for the water in the form this plus half the tolerance. Now, this is something that you may definitely want to put on a reference sheet, because quite a few of you had difficulties with it on the assignment, was tolerance. Okay, to find the tolerance, we do the max minus the min. Okay, so what's the maximum value? 8.1, and the min is 7.1. So this half the tolerance would be half of 8.1 minus 7.1, which would be half of 1, which would be 0.5. Okay. And then your nominal value would be max plus min divided 2. So it would be 7.1 plus 8.1 divided 2, which gives us 7.6. So we would express it 7.6 plus or minus 0.5. Don't forget the units, but you don't have to worry about units in this one. Okay. So essentially you get an answer. You get a mark for each one of these. Okay. Make sure you understand what tolerance is again. Okay, Egon weighs 2 bags of coffee with the same scale. The mass of the first bag is 1.9, second is 1.2, and both are in kilograms. What's the uncertainty? Remember, for uncertainty, it's precision divided 2, and then we do plus minus. So what's the precision in this one? Look at the last decimal place. It would be 0.1, right? So it'd be 0.1 divided by 2, which would be plus or minus 0.05 kilograms. And determine the maximum possible mass of the 2 bags when they're combined. So isn't the max of bag 1, that's the heavier one, 1.9 plus the uncertainty?
With the uncertainty, it's like,
which is 1.95. The max of bag 2 would be its mass plus the plus the uncertainty to get 1.25. And then you add those together and you get 3.2. Okay. Let's be done here. Okay, I was building a bookshelf. One of the wooden pieces has a dowel or a little cylinder piece sticking out that fits into the hole in another piece of wood. The nominal diameter is 2.2 centimeters, and the tolerance, remember, tolerance is max minus min, is 0.05. State the maximum and minimum.
maybe just add it.
Yeah. That's what it should be, but why is it giving me?
What numbers did it give you?
So the maximum. Oh, yes, sorry. Okay, now I get it. Remember, the tolerance is max minus min.
Yep.
Okay. So from the minimum to the maximum is 0.05. How do I find the distance from the minimum to the middle? I have to divide this by 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to go 0.05 divided by 2, and I get 0.025. So that's what I have to add to 2.2. So I have to go 2.2 plus half the tolerance to get me 2.225 centimeters. And then I have to go 2.2 minus 0.025 to get the minimum. Okay. Tolerance isn't what you add from the value you get. Like you don't go the nominal value plus the tolerance. Tolerance is the total distance between the max and the min. That was sort of a part of this question you had to watch out. And why is it important in considering the diameter of the dowel? Well, if the tolerance is too big,
It won't fit.
it won't fit. The tolerance is too small, same idea, it won't fit. Okay? Like if the tolerance is too big, you could end up getting a really big dowel and it won't just fit into the hole. Or if it's too small, you get a really thin one, it gets into the hole, but it wobbles around.
Yep.
State the measurement 7.25 centimeters plus or minus 0.03 centimeters in this form. Remember, we talked about 4 different forms. So, what's the tolerance? It's max minus min, right? So what's the max here? It would be this plus this, 7.28. What would be the min? It would be this minus this, 7.22. So the tolerance is actually going to be double this. And notice we're asked to state the minimum, then 0, then the tolerance. Well, this is the minimum. This is the tolerance, so we would do 7.2, and then like this, and then like this, to convert it correctly into that form. Tolerance isn't a really long one, okay? But I would strongly suggest that you write on your reference sheet, knowing the difference between tolerance and uncertainty and maximum and minimum. Okay, stats. Stats is pretty straightforward again. Okay. This one you guys should all know. The mean. Because we talked about that quite a bit. Right? Because if we have extreme values that are too high, it pulls the mean up. If we have extreme values that are too low, it pulls the mean down below what would be reasonable measure of sin.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The reference sheet isn't single-sided or is it
Double. So calculate the mean. Well, how would you calculate the mean?
add them all together and then divide them by 12?
Divide by 12. So the sum of the 12, the sum of the 12 tenths
-3.
divide by 12. What is it that, yeah, -3. The median temperature is -1 degrees. So it's a little different. Justify whether the mean or median would be a better measure.
The median, because they want to get tourists. Median is 1.
Good plan. Well answered. I'll just rephrase that in case you didn't hear it first, or I'll just paraphrase you. So yes, they would want -1 degree Celsius, because then they could advertise the temperature in Winnipeg as warm. Okay. This one, percentile, that's on your formula sheet. So basically what you have to do is do this question and see what error was made here.
It's supposed to be 72 over 120 because he's not supposed to put in himself.
Right. Should be 72, not 73. Don't include himself.
I have to read in 10 minutes because I have to write my English to grab it from the degree.
Here. Brenda's taking a carpentry course. Final mark is calculated while we did these weights before. And are you given the weighted? I don't think so. You double check. No, you're not given weighted. Okay. So remember there, we talked about a formula for weighted mean. You got to add up all the weights, or sorry, add up all the marks times their weights, and then divide that by the weights. Okay.
Right.
So it would be got 75, and that's worth 50. 80 times 40 plus 65 times 10. So that's sum of marks times weight over the sum of the weights, which would work out to be 100 because it's 50 plus 40 plus 10. That would get you your answer of 76. And I think that was it with that one. Yes. Don't be surprised to see a weighted mean question on the exam. Don't be surprised to see an expected value question. That's another one that we did. And I think there is I don't know if there's an no, I don't think there is one on this one.
The expected value where it's if it's worth it or not.
Yes. On a list of 80 numbers in ascending order, 60 is at the 75th percentile. What statement is true? 60 is the 75th number? No, that has nothing to do with that. 75% of the numbers are bigger? No, percentile is smaller. 75 numbers are below 60? No.
25%.
Well, about 75% are lower, so 25% would be larger. So yes, your answer is D. And then the last one, I believe, in this section, which one's the outlier? Come on, you guys. 7.8. So it's a high outlier. Calculate the trend mean by removing the highest. Well, that's pretty straightforward. So we're going to take out this one, we're going to take out this one, and we're going to find the average of 6.8 plus 6.8 plus 6.7 plus 6.9. So we add all those up and divide it by 4. And that will give us 6.8. Trend mean is pretty straightforward.
Will it only ever ask the trend 10%?
Usually, yes. Yeah.
But it'll be
To remove one above, one below. Yeah.
there won't be any like remove like 15%.
Shouldn't be. I've learned to say not 100% no, because you never know what they do, but I'm pretty confident it shouldn't be. Geometry and trig is a big one. Okay. Remember, two questions that I'm sure you're going to get because they appear year after year. One question where you have to use sine law, one question where you have to use cosine. That's for sure. And those would be the biggest questions in this section. The other ones are all on those properties we talked about. Properties of triangles, properties of quadrilaterals, and special types of quadrilaterals. So here's an example with quadrilaterals. Which of these 4 are the diagonals equal length?
The longest? Wait, which one's the longest?
Rhombus, all sides are equal.
Wait, just.
Do those diagonals look equal to each other?
Oh, all of that? Oh, I get it now.
Do those diagonals look equal? No.
I thought it meant the sides.
No, sorry, diagonals. Parallelogram would be the same as a rhombus. They're not going to be the same.
Is it the kite?
Kite, it looks exactly like a kite. But once again, they're not going to be the same. It's got to be a rectangle. Because if you look at a rectangle, they are the same. So it's C.
Oh, right.
Okay.
It's like,
And the other one that it works, what else would have, what other shape has the diagonals equal?
probably a square.
Square is right. Here we go. Sine law. Remember, you've got to know when to use sine law and when to use cosine law. To use cosine law, you're given three angles, you're asked to find a side. You're given three angles and asked to find a side. Or you're given two sides, the angle between them, and asked to find the other side. This is not one of those. We don't know all three sides. We only know one of the sides. We have to use sine law. So if you use sine law, remember we've got to write two fractions. The side we're trying to find over the side of its opposite angle.
So I have to find the other angle of it.
So over the side we're given over its opposite angle. So yes, we have to find this first by doing 180 minus 57 minus 23. And that equals 100 degrees. So now we can use sine law to say, okay, 110 over sine 100 degrees equals the side C I'm trying to find over sine 23 degrees. What do I do next, you guys? How do I get rid of the fractions?
Times 23 sine, or sine 23 on both sides. To get C by.
Well, when there's a single fraction on either side, I can actually just cross multiply. That will do it. You are right, what you were going to say.
So both would work, that's faster.
This one will probably work a little faster because it's doing two steps in one.
But if I did it the other way, would it be wrong?
No, absolutely, it would be fine. And then we have to divide both sides by sine 100 degrees, and then I'll let you guys do that. Okay. Okay. We got a regular polygon with 30 sides. She's saying the sum of the angles is 5,000 degrees. We have to justify why this is not possible. Well, if you go to the formula sheet, there is a formula that talks about the sum of the angles. So the sum of the angles, according to the formula sheet, is 180 degrees times the number of sides minus 2. So what we would do is we'd say, okay, we're given 30. So we're going to do this. So we get 30, 28 times 180 is going to give us 5,040 degrees, which does not equal 5,000 degrees. So that's a pretty straightforward question. Okay. See ya. Okay. This one, we're back to quadrilaterals. Here you can kind of like just look at the shape And you should be able to give me a good idea of what the angles are. Like, can you tell me, like, first of all, this angle's outside this trapezoid. Why is it a trapezoid? Because there's one pair of parallel sides. But because these notches are the same, these angles are the same measure, and so are these. So what would the measure of this angle be? 105. And these two make 180 degrees. So to find x, I do 180 minus 105, and I get 75 degrees. Okay. Here we go. Back to trig again. Notice this one has all three sides, and we're asked to find this angle. That's cosine law. And that's on your formula sheet. And remember, to find an angle using cosine law, this is formula sheet. There's two formulas. And for one finds a side, the other finds an angle. So the formula is cosine A equals little b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. Well, if we're trying to find angle A, little a is opposite. So where does the 6 go? It goes here. Because it's opposite the angle we're trying to find, which means the other two sides go here. And then we calculate from there. We have to calculate all of this. So I'll do it and show you the work section. So what do we get? 25 minus 36, we get negative 11. Sorry. We get cosine A equals negative 11 over 2 times 3 times 4, which is 24. How do I find A? How do we find an angle in trig? Cos inverse. Cos inverse. And that will get you your angle, which actually works out to 117.28. Okay. Here, triangle question. Remember, the word congruent, equal. So if a triangle has two equal sides, okay, and one of the angles is 100, and one angle measures 120 degrees. What kind of angle is 120? Obtuse, acute, or right? Obtuse. And two sides are the same in a triangle, that's isosceles. So it's obtuse isosceles, it's going to be D. Okay. This one on your formula sheet. When we're asked to find a central angle, and remember, a central angle is an angle that comes out from the middle of the shape to one of the corners or vertices. So that's a central angle. And according to the formula sheet, to find the measure of a central angle, which, like I said, is and this is right from your formula sheet. The central angle is 360 degrees divided by n, where n is the number of sides. How many sides are there here? There are 8 sides. So 360 divided by 8 will give me 45 degrees. Okay? And final question in this section. Why is this not a parallelogram?
Right?
No, think parallelogram. Opposite sides are,
Equal,
yes, and,
you see equal?
no, parallel.
Oh.
Are these sides parallel, opposite sides parallel? No. So you could say one of two things. You could say opposite sides are not parallel. Opposite sides are not equal. Okay? Opposite angles are not the same. These two are the same, but these two are not. So that's another reason. So there's a few reasons why we can say it's not a parallelogram. Okay. Fine. Last unit deals with home finance. Okay. So you probably want to put some home finance stuff on your reference sheet, because I believe the only thing you have on the formula sheet is just how to calculate your gross debt service ratio and how to calculate your education or municipal tax. So we've got somebody insuring a house for $220,000. They want $200 deductible. They live in the house is in area 3, and they want comprehensive. So we need to figure out how much are they going to pay per year. Well, go to the table. We want area 3. We want comprehensive. And notice that it goes up to 200,000. So for a $200,000 home or house, you have to pay $799. Okay, but this one is worth 220, and it says you have to pay $391 for every additional thousand. So that means there's 20,000, or there's 20 of these. There's 20 of these extra thousands. So we have to go what was it, 799 plus 20 times 391. $3.91. Now I'm going to figure this out. This gives us 877.20. Okay. But that's for $500 deductible. Because notice, if you go back to the table, I believe it's for 500. Okay. For $200, you have to increase your price by 10%. So we have to increase this by 10%. How do we increase by 10%? Multiply by 1.1, multiply by 110%, or 1.10. And it will get you your total, which is $964.92. Okay. Property taxes. So we want to calculate municipal tax. This is on the formula sheet. So to calculate the municipal tax, it is the portion assessment, 200,000, times your mill rate, which you're given as 27.234, divide 1,000. And notice this is only like a 1-mark question. So we would get 5,446.80. Okay. So that's using the formula sheet. Same with the next question. And it's usually safe to bet they have one of these on every one. The gross debt service ratio is also on your formula sheet. Don't need to put that on your reference sheet. So the GDSR is your monthly mortgage payment, which according to the question is $1,362, plus your monthly property taxes, which is this, $394, plus your monthly heating costs, which you are given as $207, divided by the monthly income, which there are 2 of them we have to add together. And we get $0.27 about, or 27%. Do you remember the ratio, or do you remember the percent you had to meet if you could afford a house? That's for vehicles. 32. 32. This land transfer tax, we talked about this. Okay. You don't have to pay any tax on your first $30,000 for the house you're about to buy. You pay 0.5% on the next 60, 1% on the next 60 after that, 1.5% on the next 50. So this takes you up to $200,000. So what they, and they've given you this. Like this here, they've calculated, and it's this. You just have to figure out the rest. Well, how much is left? It's a $255,000 house. So we have to pay tax of 2% on 55,000. So 55,000 times 0.02 is going to give us the percent. Which is 1,100. And then we have to add that to what has already been calculated. So 1,650 plus 1,100. And that's going to give us an answer of 2,750. Okay. Next question. Jackson purchased a home for 460,000, made a down payment of 95, negotiated a mortgage at 5.5% over 25 years. And it tells you he pays $6.10 on every $1,000 he borrows. Well, first thing we need to do is figure out how much he has to borrow. And that's 460,000, the cost of the house, minus what he put down. So that means he's going to have to borrow $365,000. So we need to figure out how much is he going to pay per month. Again, this should go on your reference sheet because it's not on your formula sheet. To figure out, we would go amount borrowed divided by 1,000 times cost per 1,000. You may want to have that on your reference sheet. So borrowed 365. I need to put that into how many thousands are in 365,000? 365. Times how much you pay for every 1,000 you borrow, which is $6.10, which gives us $2,226.50. And then how much does he have to pay over the life of the mortgage? Well, if he pays, he's paying this per month, and his mortgage is 25 years. So you have to take his payment per month times by 12 to get how much he pays per year, times by 25 to get how much he pays for 25 years. And we get, we get 667,950. So notice, he only had to borrow 365,000, but by the time 25 years goes by, and he pays back with interest, he had to pay like almost double over that time. So to figure out how much interest he had to pay, we've got to take the amount we just found minus how much he borrowed, 365. And that's going to give us 302,950. Okay. And the last question, I think. Rajesh's house has a damaged window that costs him an extra $30 per month in heating or cooling costs. It cost him $1,200 to replace the windows. but he's planning on selling the house and moving in 5 years. Should he replace it? Well, if he's going to leave in 5 years, okay, yes, but how much would he have to pay in heating and cooling costs? Okay, so if he kept old window, it's going to cost him $30 a month, times 12 means $360 a year, times 5 years if he plans to stay in the house, it's going to be $1,800. So he would pay $1,800 in heating and cooling costs if he kept the old window. But if he replaced it now, he'd only pay $1,200. So it would be worth it to replace it because he would save money. Okay, save himself $600. Okay, a few comments. This is a little different from the pre-calculus exam, and you'll see this on the front of the exam. But I just want to remind you, all decimals, 2 decimal places. Okay, so whenever you do a question and you get a decimal answer, go to 2 decimal places. Obviously, if it's a money question, you have to go to 2 decimal places, okay, because that's what we always round to. Spend the time, okay? Like, this is one of the exams that was on Teams. So I sort of did a couple of videos trying to talk about what should go on reference sheets, what you're going to see on formula sheets, okay, things like that. I suggest that you do at least one other of the practice ones, okay, if not both of the other practice ones. Because for the most part, you guys have done well this year, but don't assume like, oh, it's going to be easy, okay? There'll be some very straightforward questions in there that you should have no problem answering, but you will also get ones that you have to know how to do them, and it requires some steps. Okay, so you need to spend the time. Because remember, this exam is worth 20% of your grade.